Psalm 35 is a powerful prayer by David, full of emotion and faith. He cries out to God for help against his enemies. This psalm is both personal and universal, speaking of struggle and trust. David's deep faith is evident as he pleads for justice and divine intervention. Many find comfort in its raw honesty and the testament to faith in the face of fear. David does not hide his pain or conflict, but brings them to God. This psalm teaches us to bring our true selves to God, trusting in His protection and justice. It is a powerful example of turning to God in times of trouble. The beauty of Psalm 35 lies in its honesty and the relationship with God built on trust. David's words resonate with anyone facing adversity, showing that we can bring our real problems to God. This is a lesson for all of us. We can bring our true selves to God. Psalm 35 was written by David, a shepherd, warrior, and king who faced many enemies. This psalm is a cry for help and a plea for justice. David asks God to fight for him, believing that God is on his side. The purpose of Psalm 35 is clear. David seeks God's protection and deliverance from his enemies. He trusts that God will act and save him. This psalm is a prayer for rescue and a request for divine justice. David's faith in God's power to save is strong. Psalm 35 also serves as a reminder of God's justice and care for right and wrong. The historical context is important. David was often in danger and faced threats from many sides. This psalm reflects those times and shows David's reliance on God. It is a window into his relationship with the divine. Understanding this context helps us grasp the intensity of his prayer. David's faith is a testament to trusting in God's justice. This psalm is a call to trust in God's protection and justice. It is a powerful reminder of God's presence in times of trouble. Psalm 35 is made up of 28 verses, each rich with meaning. The first verse sets the tone. Contend, Lord, with those who contend with me. Fight against those who fight against me. David asks for God's intervention and protection. He trusts in God's power to save and be his shield. As the psalm progresses, the theme of justice emerges. David asks for his enemies to be brought to shame. May those who seek my life be disgraced and put to shame. He believes that God will make things right. The later verses focus on deliverance and David's confidence in God's salvation. My soul will rejoice in the Lord and delight in his salvation. These verses are full of hope and show David's unwavering faith in God's deliverance. The key themes of protection, justice, and deliverance are central to this psalm. In Psalm 35, David seeks protection and justice. He asks God to be his shield, a powerful image of divine protection. David believes that God is his ultimate protector and trusts in his ability to keep him safe. He also seeks justice, wanting his enemies to be held accountable. Let them be like chaff before the wind, with the angel of the Lord driving them away. This is a cry for divine justice and fairness. David does not rely on his own strength, but looks to God to fight for him. This teaches us to trust in God's protection and seek justice in our own lives. David's plea for fairness is heartfelt and shows his belief in a just God. It is a reminder that God cares about right and wrong. The themes of protection and justice are strong in this psalm. It is an inspiration to trust in God's protection and seek justice. Psalm 35 is filled with emotion, showing David's deep connection with God. He feels fear, anger, and hope, bringing all these emotions to God. Fear is a strong emotion in this psalm. David fears his enemies and is in danger. His fear drives him to seek God's protection. Lord, how long will you look on? Rescue me from their ravages. Anger is also present. David is angry at his enemies and wants them to be punished. Let them be put to shame and confusion who seek my life. Despite his fear and anger, David is hopeful. He believes in God's salvation. I will give you thanks in the great assembly. This hope is rooted in faith and is a testament to David's trust in God. Psalm 35 has a clear message, a call for divine intervention. David seeks God's protection and justice for his enemies. He believes in God's power to save and trusts in divine protection. The themes of protection and justice are central to this psalm. David's emotions of fear, anger, and hope drive him to seek God. He does not hide his feelings, but brings them all to God. The overall message is inspiring, teaching us to trust in God's protection and justice. It reminds us that God cares about right and wrong. This psalm shows the power of faith and prayer. Psalm 35 is a powerful prayer for anyone facing adversity. It is a reminder of God's presence and power. Let it inspire you to seek God in times of trouble. Let us now read the full text of Psalm 35. Feel the power of David's words. Let them inspire you. Contend, Lord, with those who contend with me. Fight against those who fight against me. Take up shield and armor. Arise and come to my aid. Brandish spear and javelin against those who pursue me. Say to me, I am your salvation. May those who seek my life be disgraced and put to shame. May those who plot my ruin be turned back in dismay. May they be like chaff before the wind, with the angel of the Lord driving them away. May their path be dark and slippery, with the angel of the Lord pursuing them. Since they hid their net for me without cause, and without cause dug a pit for me, may ruin overtake them by surprise. May the net they hid entangle them. May they fall into the pit to their ruin. Then my soul will rejoice in the Lord, and delight in his salvation. My whole being will exclaim, Who is like you, Lord? You rescue the poor from those too strong for them, the poor and needy from those who rob them. 11 ruthless witnesses come forward. They question me on things I know nothing about. They repay me evil for good and leave me like one bereaved. Yet when they were ill, I put on sackcloth and humbled myself with fasting. When my prayers returned to me unanswered, I went about mourning as though for my friend or brother. I bowed my head in grief as though weeping for my mother. But when I stumbled, they gathered in glee. Assailants gathered against me without my knowledge. They slandered me without ceasing. Like the ungodly, they maliciously mocked. They gnashed their teeth at me. How long, Lord, will you look on? Rescue me from their ravages, my precious life from these lions. I will give you thanks in the great assembly. Among the throngs I will praise you. Do not let those gloat over me who are my enemies without cause. Do not let those who hate me without reason maliciously wink the eye. They do not speak peaceably, but devised false accusations against those who live quietly in the land. They sneer at me and say, Aha, aha, with our own eyes we have seen it. Lord, you have seen this. Do not be silent. Do not be far from me, Lord. Awake and rise to my defense. Contend for me, my God and Lord. Vindicate me in your righteousness, Lord my God. Do not let them gloat over me. Do not let them think, Aha, just what we wanted, or say, We have swallowed him up. May all who gloat over my distress be put to shame and confusion. May all who exalt themselves over me be clothed with shame and disgrace. May those who delight in my vindication shout for joy and gladness. May they always say, The Lord be exalted, who delights in the well-being of his servant. My tongue will proclaim your righteousness, your praises all day long.